Hey guys, today we are talking all things sensory bins. My name is Addie. I am a mom to 3 little girls, and this channel is all about motherhood and kids activities and just life. So if that is you, please hit the subscribe button and let's get into sensory bins. We love sensory bins. I usually do at least one a week of different themes or something that we're doing with our preschool lesson or just for fun, but we love sensory bins around here. Sensory bins are really good because they stimulate children's senses. So, you know, sight, taste, touch, all those different senses, the 5 senses, it really stimulates them for the kid, and it really helps them in learning and exploring and just that cognitive development. I also love them because it fosters imagination and creativity, fine motor skills when they're using their fingers to pinch different things, hand-eye coordination, pre-scissor skills, and the list just goes on. So without further ado, for a sensory bin, what do you need? Well, first you're gonna need a bin, you're gonna need some way to contain the mess, you're going to need a base material, and then you're going to need the add-ons, something like that. So there are 4 basic components. First off, the bin, I like to use Trofast bins. They are, I think, like the perfect size for sensory bins, and they're like $2 to $3. You could also use just a like Rubbermaid container with a lid. Here I have our bigger sensory bin, and this is actually a drip pan, like one you would get from an auto supply store. So this one is really good when multiple of my children are playing at the same time. Like these are more single child. This is more multiple child, or if we're having a party or something and we want to pull this out, if they want to play outside with it and we do a bigger one, we do really like this. When it's out of use, I typically keep this piece of wood on top so that the kids don't get into it. For my other bins, I actually don't keep lids on them because I put the materials away after each use. Some people don't like to put them away, so they want a container with a lid. That is up to you. For me, I just like to put my materials away. Here's a tray that I use for mess cleanup. So I will have like a tray like this, and then I'll put this on top of it so that any spillage goes onto the tray. Other mess savers that I have used are shower curtains, old shower curtains. I'll just lay that down. Old tablecloths, a fitted sheet that goes like kind of on the feet underneath this, and then I'll do like rocks or something to keep it out. That way at the end it can just all be folded up into that sheet and put back in the bin. Cookie sheets, trays, bigger trays like this I said, and then maybe just even a bigger bin. Like I could put this in my drip pan bin, and in fact I think in here, I was gonna show you an example of a sensory bin, so I have one made in here, and here's the bin, and it just fits right in here, so that could be the mess cleanup there. So we'll look at this in a bit. So the next thing you need with a sensory bin is a base material, and what that means basically is just the material that's gonna fill up the bulk of your bin. So for example, it could be sand, rice, beans, shredded paper, aquarium beads, glass beads, water, coffee grounds, cotton balls, corn kernels, the list goes on. The Dollar Tree is a great place to get these. I will just go through my bin real quick to show you some examples, and just so that you can see how I store this. I have all of my sensory bin materials in a big like Rubbermaid type thing. I don't know if it says the size underneath here. Nope, so I can't really tell you, but this is where I store everything, and I don't keep it in the bins. I then store this bin underneath this table here, and that's where all my sensory stuff is. So let me pull out some of the base materials that I have so that you can see. Now for me, I keep all my base materials. If I use a base material, I pretty much keep it in a bag like this and use it for next time so that I don't have to make it again, and I'll store it in here because that just is easier rather than having to make rice or whatever every time. So this is my blue rice. Here I have water beads. These are actually floral beads from the Dollar Tree. I think they work like the same as a water bead, but what I like about them is that 1, they come in a jar so you can easily store them, and 2, they don't mold. They might mold eventually, but we've had these ones for like 2 years and they're still not moldy, whereas the traditional brand of water beads, like the ones that are actually made to play in sensory bins with, they mold like within the first couple weeks for us. So I actually prefer the floral gel beads. I also have in here glass beads. Again, you can get these from the Dollar Tree, and I have them in different colors separated by baggie. I have like all my glass beads in this one bag, but separated by color. That way for different themed bins, if I want a certain color, I don't have to go through the process of separating them. They're already separated. I also have other colored rice. So different themes, again, require different colors. So I have blue that I've dyed. I have just white. I've got green. I've got rainbow here. I've got red, green, and white for Christmas. And then I've got red, white, blue for Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, that sort of thing. Anything that would require our president unit, you know, stuff that we might use red, white, blue for. So also have some red, just different things, save them as I make them. Making rice, colored rice, is not that difficult. It's a really good activity that the kids like to do with me. So they spend time shaking, they do the droppers of the dye. Just look up a simple recipe. I can try to link one in the description below if you need it, but really a fun activity to do. And then if you do a bunch at the one time, you don't have to do it again for a while. In here, I also have kinetic sand. I have a huge big bag of it. This is like 5 pounds of kinetic sand here. It takes a lot to fill a drip pan. So before you think, oh, I want the big one, I will say you have to buy so much supplies to fill it. It may not be worth it. I really kind of wish this was the size we went with, but with multiple kids, it really is hard for them all to play in a small bin like this. So this one really does work well for us, but it does require extra supplies. So take that into mind. So yeah, kinetic sand, a big favorite of ours. We can't keep the sands separate. I have come to realize, like, kinetic sand is one of those where the kids just like to mix all the colors, so we haven't been able to keep that separate, but that is what it is. I also have shredded paper. I have green. This is like for different animal bins, we'll do this. And then this one is from our community helpers and fire week bin. I typically use this kind of shredded paper. I also have different aquarium beads, white and black. These are really great, not only for sensory bins, but I will also use these in my letter writing or number writing bins so that they can have a different kind of material than salt to write with. I also have some corn kernels, that farm theme typically. And then here for the winter time, I actually have some magic snow and like a little snow shovel, so we have that too. And that pretty much is my base materials that I keep inside this bin. So once you have your base material, then you're gonna want to do your add-ins. Add-ins can be anything really, but basically you're gonna want something that has a fun texture or smell or that makes your box a theme. So those things could include things like play food, little figurines, animals, fake trees, rocks, magnifying glasses, shells, glass beads, acorns, different spices for the scent, lemon peel, stuff like that. That is the kind of add-ins that you're gonna want. So again, there are some times that I keep those add-ins in the box, and there are sometimes that the add-ins stay where they go. Things like figurines, animals, things that my kids would play with outside of a sensory bin, those are all in their typical toy boxes. And if we're having a certain theme, like safari animals or something, I'll just go grab the safari animals from our animal bin. Other things that we would just kind of use here. So here is the bag of stuff that I typically keep here, and in it is stuff that like my kids wouldn't really play with that often if they were in their toy room. So for example, I have some little like reptiles, like little plastic snakes, alligators, turtles, things that came from the Dollar Tree that are like not really that great of quality, that I don't want to put in their toy box, but are great for a bin. So I keep those in here. I have this little treasure chest for like our princess theme or our pirates theme that can hold treasure that'll go in there. A lot of times the Dollar Tree or the Target dollar section are two great places to get sensory bin items. So I have found like little people things. Like these are not the type of people that they would typically play with. They prefer like baby dolls or like real figurine, not like block people. So these came from Target dollar spot, so they have a lot of people. I also have like little trees in here, different types of trees. These came from Target dollar spot too. And then other things that you would think of like road signs. Maybe if you have a boy or a girl, they might have like a train set or something if they like construction. So these types of things also are in here because my girls don't love trains. We have trains, but they don't love it. They don't keep this stuff. So I go ahead and keep this stuff in the bag. That way I can use it for themes. Like if we're having a construction theme, I can pull this out. If we have a car theme or a transportation theme, I can pull these out. If we have community helper theme, I can pull out this guy, you know, something like that. I'll just keep the little different figurines in here, and I have found them over time. Here's a little fire hydrant for different things. So those are the type of things that I keep here on hand, whereas the other items, maybe I would just grab from around the house depending on what it was. The other type of add-ins could be a different category entirely. Tools that I keep in here with this are scoops type thing. So the tools are, the basic tools that you could put in there are spoons, measuring cups, tweezers, tongs, chopsticks, small containers so that they can put things in, cups, egg cartons, paint trays, ice cube trays, things like that. Just tools that they can manipulate the rice, the beans, etc. with. So in here I have a little 1 cup measuring cup, lots of different sized measuring cups, a like little beaker test tube thing. I have tongs, I have a wooden spoon, I have a funnel, basically a thing. I have a ladle in here, a thing, a whole bin of just like different stuff, scoops, cups, whatever. Dollar Tree, a good place to get those. Just go get an extra set of dollar types of these things, measuring cups, and put it just to go in your sensory bin. You don't have to buy them separate, but I find that having a set that I can keep in here and I don't have to worry about it getting lost or making it back to the kitchen or washing it every time has just been so easier, and it's $1.25. So to me, that's worth it. I also have sand tools. These came with this kinetic sand stuff, but if you don't have that sort of thing, you could just get little ones from your sandbox. But in here, it's just all kinds of different sand tools that have come here. Cookie cutters is another good one I put in here. Typically we would play with that with sand. Little knives, a small like apple cutter thing. So just different tools that they would be able to use to manipulate the different sensory items. And again, I keep it all right in here so that I always know where it is and I don't have to go multiple places to find these things. The other thing that I keep in this bin is extra bags. So at any time I come up with a new material or something that I want to store in here, I have the bag ready to go. I can just pull it out of here and get it put in. So I did put a bin together just to give you an example. It's a bug themed bin and I will show you kind of what's going on here. Okay, so here is just an example of a bin, and in here I have my like dirt mix, which is espresso or coffee beans, lima beans, and, or not lima beans, pinto beans, and black beans. And again, this is a filler base material that I have a plastic bag for over there. And in here I would keep my little bug figurines, and I have a scoop, I have a measuring cup, some tongs, and a magnifying glass. So a pretty simple bin here, but just another example of the kinds of things we do. Sensory bins are just great. They encourage creative exploration. It encourages kids to have problem-solving skills through experimentation and testing, drawing conclusions, guessing. It can be an activity that's used to help kids regulate their emotions. So just all in all, I just really advocate for sensory bins. I think it's really good for kids. And age-wise, I've had a question on that, like what can you use, what can't you use? And basically I would say that as long as your child is not putting things in their mouth, so after like the baby stage, any material pretty much is good for any kid. Like my 2-year-old can do the same things that my 5-year-old can do, that my 10-year-old, I don't have a 10-year-old, but that a 10-year-old could do. So materials doesn't really matter unless you have a baby that is putting stuff in their mouth and could be a choking hazard. So for babies, I really like to do edible sensory bins, and some examples could be cereal. That's a really good one. Cheerios, Rice Krispies, Fruity Pebbles, Fruit Loops, you know, just a lot of cereals could be used. A lot of fun things there. And you could grind up Cheerios to make a sandy texture if you wanted. So there's lots of different things you could do. For sand, also you could use brown sugar. Again, you don't necessarily want your kid to be taking handfuls and eating the sensory bin, but if they taste a little bit of brown sugar, it's not going to kill them. Another example would be something like breadcrumbs or whipped cream, stuff like that. So just edible items that they can do so that if it does touch their mouth, it's not gonna harm them. Other than that, like, I just think, yeah, all different kinds of materials are good. You just want all kinds of different textures. The more textures you can give them, the better. Now, I have also been asked how you actually play with a sensory bin. So to answer that, one would be just independently. I love bringing the sensory bin out when I'm trying to get something done. Dishes, work email, something's going wrong, like, you know, something that's happening, I just need a break. I'll pull the sensory bin out, just let them play. Totally fine to do it totally independent. Like I said, sensory bins foster independence. It's one of the great things about them, and it lets them be creative. So 100% great. Another thing that you could do with sensory bins is direct them towards learning. And sensory bins are really, really, really great for learning because when kids use multiple senses at one time, they can better retain information. So I love incorporating learning into our sensory bins. For a younger child, you could kind of let them play independently, but then direct them a little bit. So for ones you're working on language development with, you could have them try to describe what they're feeling or what they're seeing. You could have them, as they just watch them, and as they're scooping something, say, oh, is that cup full or empty? You know, and they could tell you. So not necessarily telling them how to play, but in observing them play, asking them questions. Is that bean hot or cold? You know, maybe it's cold. Maybe you're working on body parts. Touch the ladybug to your nose. Touch the ladybug to your arm. You know, things like that. So you could have them working on all sorts of different language development just through a sensory bin. You could also learn to like kind of teach them directions. So that would be more directing them, obviously, in their play, but you could say, you know, you have different bugs here. So you could say, can you find the butterfly and bury it? So they find the butterfly and then they bury it, you know? So just things like that, helping following directions, helping learning vocabulary is really great with sensory bins. You could also work on pre-math skills. So things like sorting, you know, put all the flying insects in one spot, sort them by color, sort them. You could have different puzzle pieces and bury them and then have them put the puzzle together. For an older preschooler, you could put play money in there, and then you could have them find the money, scoop it out, and sort them into coin type. Things like that, incorporating learning with their senses. Love, love, love doing that sort of thing. Another biggie that we use sensory bins for is letter and number recognition. So a lot of times we have lots of mini objects. I have a whole video on how I use that in language development. I can link that below too, but I will hide little figurines or objects in there, and they can find them, pull them out, and tell me the sound that they make or tell me the letter that it starts with. I've also written little number cards or whatever, hidden them, and then have them pull them out and arrange them in number order. So just lots of ways to introduce learning and fun at the same time. Another way to play with them is just by theme. So like I said, this is our like bug theme. There are ocean themes and farm themes and all different things. Pinterest is a really good resource if you are looking for sensory bin ideas or theme ideas. Just check out Pinterest, you will find tons. So that is basically sensory bins. The only other thing I would add is how I store it. So like I said, you know, I put the wood on top of there when it's out of use, and then I close up my bin here. I put this under here, store it there, and then I will just put my other bins and trays and such on top of it there. That way everything is kind of in its spot, it's all out of the way, and that's where you can keep it. If you don't have enough space for this big table, you do not have to have this big thing either. Like if you want a bigger sensory bin, you can still have your drip pan, but you can just set this on the floor, outside, inside, with a sheet, you know, whatever. You don't have to have the table part that goes with it. My husband's a carpenter, he built this for us, so it works for us, but you don't have to have it. And then you can store all your materials in here because this thing is huge. So your box, your bin here, and your other trays can fit right inside here, and then you're done. So I like to keep mine out where we use it. My kids know not to go in there. If you want to keep yours up away from your kids, it's all up to you. You know your kids best. But that is basically sensory bin 101 here. It is all you pretty much need to know. If you have any further questions, comment below. If you need example themes, like I said, go ahead to Pinterest. Lots of good ideas there. If you follow my preschool stuff, then basically every week there's a sensory bin of some sort. So if you click on a theme, you can see what bin we might be doing for that theme. And yeah, so hopefully this is helpful. I had a few comments on this, so I hope it addresses all of the questions that you were hoping. If not, again, leave them below, and please hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.